Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Monday night here in Azeroth, and we have a great show lined up for you. So I'm going to be changing the format around a little bit for this episode because I'm going on vacation. So I'm recording this a day early, and I'm trying to cram as much information as I can into this episode, but I don't like having this, big long episode. I like to keep them short and sweet, around an hour. But I've got a lot to get through, so it is going to be a little bit of a longer episode. But we're just going to run through the normal things. We're going to skip all of the additional segments. We'll do all of that next time, but we will hit through and touch on some of the news really quickly. So, that's going to be the episode. But before I get into any of that, I will do a quick rundown of what I got up to last week in World of Warcraft. So we did a full clear of Tempest Keep and Serpent Shrine Cavern. We got 3 bosses done in Serpent Shrine on Friday, so we had to come back on Saturday, clear the rest. We had a couple of hiccups on Vosh, but we got her down. I think it was 3 attempts that we did. On the 3rd attempt we killed her, and then we went into Magtheridon's Lair, which I think everyone was just kind of like, this is going to be easy, and it's not, because you still have to do the mechanics correctly. So we had a couple of oopsies in there, but it was fine. We worked through it, and then we went and slapped Gruul around, and so yeah, it was a good raid week. Had a lot of fun. I got my full Rift Stalker set. That's a tongue twister. I got my full Rift Stalker set. So I'm in the process of dropping hundreds of gold on gems and enchants for that. But that's really cool. So I have all 5 pieces because I got the pants on an off-spec roll. But I'll wear the 4 pieces because I have the Skulker's Greaves from Karazhan. Those are slightly better. And but I have the full set. So I'm done. I'm all done. We're done. I still have plenty of things that I still need to get. But I have all my enchanting mats sitting on my character right now, and he's just waiting to go do them. It's a really good week. We had fun. Everyone was having a good time. And, summer is weird because everyone goes on vacation. I'm going on vacation this week, so I won't be there for raid. It's everyone's on vacation. So we had a lot of substitutes in. But it's nice being able to meet people and, people from the guild and that I didn't know before. So that's always fun. So, it's nice. And, just had a good raid week. It didn't do a whole lot else in WoW because I've been preparing for the wedding. I mean, honestly, every moment of my life has been spent prepping for this wedding, and I'll talk about it next week, but So anyway, the other thing that I did this week is we had some work done on the house, and we hired a company and paid them a lot of money, or we financed a lot of money for them to do some work on the house. And so they sent their crews in, and the crews were like idiots. I'm like, how does this make any sense? Okay, let me back up. So we replaced the trim around the roof and the gutters is what we're doing. So the gutter team came in, they were great, but the trim team was terrible. They were just god awful. So, okay, I should be clear. The gutter team was fantastic. They extruded the gutters right there on site, and so it was one continuous piece. Really nice work. But the trim team, they were lacking. So had it out with them, and that was not fun. If you've ever had work done in your house and had to yell at a contractor, or not yell, but basically yell at these contractors, that's not fun. Most of them are big dudes and they don't want to hear about it, but I had to go in there and lay the smackdown, and I did not feel good about it, but I did it because I had to, because it was like, no, you're ruining things and you need to go fix this now. So I made them stop all work, go sit down, and I called their boss, and I did the whole thing. I did the whole Karen routine. It was fun, but everything worked out. And I actually have a crew coming out tomorrow to to do one last thing. They left some cables, and I was like, no, those were not like that when you got here. You need to go and fix them and make them right. So they're going to do that anyway. That's it. That's all I got up to last week. So yeah, like I said, we're going to skip all of the extra segments. I was going to do the add-on of the week, but we'll do that next week. So yeah, let's move on to the news.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so a couple things I want to go through here really quickly. Let's talk about this classic WoW interface change. So I mentioned this last week that Blizzard put the nameplates and raid frames into TBC Anniversary. People were not happy. And I mean, I was getting hundreds of errors on raid night because of this. It was bad. What Blizzard said is, this week, we updated Burning Crusade Classic Anniversary from patch 2.5.5 to patch 2.5.6. Although this patch was almost entirely to support critical service systems, it also included changes to nameplates and raid frames. We'd like to tell you about these changes, highlight options you have to edit some of the user interface, and look forward to patch 1.5.9 coming to WoW Classic soon. That's right. These same changes are coming to WoW Classic. So... yeah, all versions of WoW Classic share the same code with modern World of Warcraft. The game gains significant benefits from this, including the support of modern hardware, additional options for graphics and accessibility, widescreen support, and the ability to integrate with Battle.net services in the first place. This shared code also allows the introduction of UI elements to fill gaps in the original World of Warcraft UI. For instance, the original Burning Crusade only supported the drag-out raid group UI from the raid frame. With the release of WoW Classic in 2019, the game included additional option to use raid frames from modern World of Warcraft. This means the WoW Classic launched in 2019 with Battle for Azeroth raid frames. If you remember, if you played Classic, it did. You had the new raid frames, which is cool. Everyone was like, yeah, this is fine. No changes. And then with patch 2.5.5, Burning Crusade Classic Anniversary utilized raid frames from the War Within. With patch 2.5.6, the game's raid frame option has aligned with updates to modern World of Warcraft, now matching the offering from Midnight. Since we released patch 2.5.6, we've been listening to community feedback, and we recognize that players are looking for ways to modify their nameplates and raid frames that were updated. In addition to the settings that exist in the options menu, players can use the following commands for further customization. And they show the different commands for nameplate class color for enemy and for friendly units, which is one thing I noticed right away. I'm like, this is dumb. Everything's the same color. And then disabling raid frame dispel highlights, which was a really big one that people were upset about. So they're going to add those into the options menu. But for now, there's the commands that are available. I think this is hilarious that Blizzard continues to do this, where they're like, oh, we need to line everything up. And we'll get into this when we talk about Classic Plus, because this is a big thing that I'm thinking about with Classic Plus. Anyway, they're trying to line up all the different versions of the game together so that that they can support them more easily. You don't want to have 10 different versions of the game that you have to support. So anyway, so yeah, this is coming to Classic Era, Season of Discovery, Hardcore, all of those different versions as well. So players who did not like these changes, sorry, too bad, so sad. So yeah, there you go. So they data mined the Warlords of Draenor Collector's Mount and Pet on Miss Pandaria Classic. If this isn't the most direct evidence that we're getting WoD Classic, I don't know what it is. We're gonna get WoD Classic. It's gonna get announced at BlizzCon, and we're gonna get WoD Classic. It's just a fact of life. So, any of you who were hoping that we weren't going to get WoD Classic because you're like, I don't like WoD, it's coming. We still don't have any confirmation. So obviously this is all speculation, but it is educated speculation for lack of a better term. So, okay, let's go back here and let's talk about this scholarship award. So there's a scholarship that is being awarded for the University of Silicon Valley. And I actually thought this was really cool. They have, I think, what is it? Let me go down here. I think it was 10 to 15 scholarships they're awarding. And the scholarships are for different achievements in different games. Old School RuneScape, Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online, Warframe. And And so depending on the game, there's different things that you do. Like, for example, in WoW, it's Lore Master plus all 13 professions maxed plus 25 exalted reputations. If you get all of those things, you are eligible to put in for this this scholarship, which I think is really cool. Now, most of the people who listen to podcasts, they're not of college going age, and most of the people who play World of Warcraft are not of going to college age. But it's still a really interesting kind of concept. Is, you know what? Let's see what you can do in a game. Let's see how much commitment you can make, and we're going to reward that. For me personally, I looked at that and I thought, well, that's great. But that doesn't really, that doesn't help me at all. Not that I need everything to help me, but I do think it's really interesting that, it's so funny because okay, here, I'll tell you guys right now. I'm looking at my Spotify statistics. Okay. And for my Spotify statistics, this is all time, my age breakdown. So it goes 0 to 17, 18 to 22, 23 to 27, 28 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 59, and 60 plus. Of those, the 18 to 22 range, 0.5% of my listeners are in the 18 to 22 range, according to Spotify data. To give you a comparison, 43.2% of my listeners fall into the 35 to 44 range. And 17.7% of my listeners fall into the 45 to 59 range. So nobody listening to this show is going to college. But it's still kind of cool that it's available for those people. So good luck to them. And in whatever game, it doesn't even have to be WoW. I think it's really cool that they chose several different games. I think that that's a great idea for how to keep people engaged enough with what it is that they're doing and make a commitment, make a dedication, do something, right? What's the difference between joining swim team and coming up with achievements in WoW? One is a sport and one is a game, but at the end of the day, it's just showing what else do you do besides school. So, all right. Moving on, the WoW Portal Discord server. So the WoW Portal Room is it's basically like the official WoW Discord server. And so they've got a bunch of different other Discords who are members there. It's basically community leaders and things like that. So they're doing a big Q&A with Ion Hazzikostas next Friday. So I guess that's going to be this Friday, the 17th. So that's coming up this Friday. And I think Wowhead I saw was already soliciting questions from their audience on their Discord server. So they're just going to compile all this together, send it to Blizzard, and then I guess Ian's going to come on and answer a few of those questions. So I'm assuming it's going to be live streamed. I didn't see the link, but I won't be watching it because, like I said, I'm doing wedding stuff, but I'll check it out later and I'll probably talk about it. So that's coming this Friday. So if you're on one of those Discord servers, go ahead and submit your questions. What's the worst that could happen? They won't use it. Okay. Nobody's going to laugh at you if you have a dumb question. It's okay. All right. Finally, this is on the patch 12.1 PTR that Blizzard has said the large housing exteriors, which were data mined last week. I believe it was last week. So right now we have small and medium. So the large ones are coming. Those will be at housing level 12. So if you got your house and you're like, man, I really want a big giant house, you're going to get it at housing level 12 in patch 12.1. So there you go. All right. That's it for the news. Like I said, not a lot of news this week. And I just kind of want to run through this really quickly because I still have to finish packing. So let's talk about what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. The bonus event for this week is Shadowlands Time Walking. You're going to get the Sign of Azeroth buff. Shadowlands reputation gains from combat and quests increased by 50%. I think it's funny that Shadowlands and Battle for Azeroth both use the Sign of Azeroth as the name for their buff, but it's a different buff because one's Shadowlands, one's Battle for Azeroth. You couldn't come up with something better. So anyway, when you You can pick up the quest, A Shadowed Path Through Time from Archmage Aethys Sunreaver and Silvermoon to defeat 5 time-walking dungeons, and you'll be rewarded with a hero track raid item. The dungeon group is Necrotic Wake, Spires of Ascension, Plaguefall, The Other Side, Halls of Atonement, and Sanguine Depths. So yeah, check those out. Those are all fun. The only one I really don't like there is Plaguefall, but it's actually not that bad. I just hated doing it Mythic Plus. But in Time Walking, it's easy. So because the poison doesn't kill you. The PvP brawl for the week is Deep 6. Deep 6 pits teams of 6 players against each other in 3 iconic battlegrounds: Warsong Gulch, Silver Shard Mines, and Temple of Katmogu. Each battleground offers a little variation on the traditional format, such as flags that are a bit closer in Warsong Gulch, less carts to keep track of in Silver Shard Mines, and only 2 orbs within the Temple of Katmogu. I honestly, I don't know that I've ever actually done this one. Yeah, because I've done the Warsong Scramble, but not the Deep 6. So, yeah, go check it out. When you zone in, you'll get the quest Something Different to win a PvP brawl, and you will be rewarded with Conquest Honor and Marks of Honor. And finally, the Turbulent Timeways continues this week. So if you have not started the achievement yet for the Time Walking mount, the Spawn of Viranoth, which is a really cool looking mount, if you haven't started it yet, this is your last week. If you don't start this week to get the achievement, you will not be able to finish in time. So this is your final chance to start it off. If you've already done it, like I've done it 2 weeks now, I'm going to probably skip this week because I'll be out of town, but then I'll pick it up in week 4 and week 5, and then I'll be done. So, definitely check that out. If you haven't, reminder that next week will be Classic Time Walking. The week after that will be the Burning Crusade. And then finally Dragonflight to round it out, August 4th to August 11th, which again we're assuming is when patch 12.1 is going to drop, but we don't know. We're only speculating. All right. And that's it. Let's get on to the main topic of the week. Like I said, this is going to be a big one, so I want to give it the full attention.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
So for our main topic today, I'd like to give a current update as to the state of the Classic Plus cottage industry that has sprung up around Blizzard's lack of announcement for any sort of follow-up to Classic. And of course, what I'm talking about is there's been rumors for several years now that Blizzard is going to do something in the Classic WoW space that is going to protect the longevity of Classic, for lack of a better term. What I'm trying to say is there's something coming. We don't know what it is. Blizzard is working on something, and that's all we know. So today I want to kind of take stock of where we are in terms of Classic Plus, the rumors, the leaks, the lawsuits, all of that stuff, and really just give us a good insight into what is potentially coming for Classic Plus. So first off, let's just say this is something that I know a lot of people don't want to hear about, because Blizzard has not officially announced Classic Plus. They've never said, hey guys, there's going to be Classic Plus, but we can't announce it yet. We just know they're working on air quote something. Whatever that something is, we hope it's good. That's about all we can do. And I think that as we get closer to BlizzCon, these conversations are just going to get louder and louder. We're going to get more leaks. We're going to get more rumors. And when I'm talking about leaks and rumors, I'm not talking about real leaks and real rumors. These are fake. Yes, it's possible that there's a leak or rumor like this Camelot thing could be real, but we don't know that for sure. All we know is it's a photo that somebody took of a piece of paper with a project plan on it. And let me tell you, as somebody who's worked in the business world for many years, project plans are always changing. So even if it says there's going to be Classic Plus announced at BlizzCon and released this year, that still doesn't guarantee that it is going to happen. So we're going to go through and we're going to separate what we know, what we think we know, what the community is talking about, what the community wants, and what I think that Blizzard is actually building. Yes, I'm going to do my Classic Plus prediction, at least an early predictor of what Classic Plus will be. So to start off, what exactly is Classic Plus? I think not everyone knows about Classic Plus, although I have talked about it a lot. But there's no official definition for Classic Plus. It just, from the community standpoint, it means some sort of iteration on the original vanilla World of Warcraft game design that potentially adds new content and something. Some common things that people talk about, maybe new zones, maybe reactivate some zones that were in the game but we couldn't get to, like Mount Hyjal, new raids, new dungeons, new battlegrounds, class improvements, profession overhaul, world events, horizontal progression, which is one that I keep seeing thrown around, something that keeps level 60 relevant where we don't go into the dark portal. But if you asked 50 players what Classic Plus is, you'd get 50 different answers. So there's a lot of things that people commonly point to and expect Classic Plus to have. Are there things that Blizzard is going to do with Classic Plus that not everyone likes? Yes, they have to, because you can't make everyone happy. But if you go through and you really try and get the gist of what the community is after, I think that two things here. First of all, the community doesn't know what they want. And even if they vote for something, there's a lot of, and I forget the name of it, but there's a thing where if enough people start talking about something, other people just think they want that. And even if they don't, if I said, hey, read my book and then come up with your own book based on my book, you're going to be biased based on what you already read. Versus if I said, hey, come up with this entirely new concept and I'm going to give you nothing, then you could get something completely different. So what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of different opinions, but those opinions get kind of force-fed from content streamers, podcasters, people on Reddit, people on MMO Champion, the WoW forums, Twitter. All these places are feeding this content machine and it's influencing people. And I think it's creating some bias in what people might actually enjoy in a Classic Plus. So, but the important thing to remember, none of this is confirmed. We don't even know that there's going to be a Classic Plus. We just know that they're working on something new in the classic WoW design space. That's what Agren said last year. It's over a year now. Wow, it's been 14 months ago that he said they were stopping the development on Season of Discovery and that they were working on the next project, which is something new in the classic WoW design space. So that's where we are. Now, why is this topic coming up? The Camelot leak really sparked a lot of attention to Classic Plus. And I think that people would still be talking about it, but it wouldn't be quite as hyped up as it is right now. As we go into BlizzCon, there's a lot of hype for Classic Plus, just for anything, really. People want to know the same questions that I've been asking. What's happening with Anniversary? What's happening with Miss Pandaria? These are the things that we want to know. We want to know what's going on. And so Classic Plus is just part of that conversation. So we had the Camelot leak. I talked about it a few weeks ago. It was a project plan that had a bunch of different milestone markers on there, not specific dates, not specific names of projects. It just said Camelot, Classic / Camelot. People are assuming that that's either a code name for something that's coming, or maybe they're talking about Arthas being, King Arthur, something. There's a lot of, when you have something tangible like that, and when it comes back. So this was posted last year, deleted. It came back because somebody saved a screenshot of it, and then people were able to go back onto like a Reddit archives and find it. So yeah, there's a lot of, let's say, momentum because of this Camelot leak. But also, like I said, going into BlizzCon, people are just getting excited. And that's one thing, like going into BlizzCon, people talk about what the new expansion is going to be. Well, we already know what the new expansion is going to be. It's The Last Titan. So we don't have to get excited about that. There's actually very little hype about The Last Titan. I can't remember the last time we were going into a BlizzCon where there will be some sort of announcement about the new expansion and there's almost no hype for it. All of the hype at BlizzCon is for Classic. Even from people who don't like Classic or who don't play Classic, you're going to get some references to Classic Plus and Camelot and all of these different things. They were talking about the Classic Plus leaks on the Potty C, which is a high-end Mythic rating and high Mythic Plus themed podcast. They were talking about Classic Plus because that's the news. That's what's going on. That's all we have. There's nothing else out there. So, that's kind of where we are. I was going to go over some of these leaks that are making the rounds on Reddit and on YouTube, but honestly, I went through some of them and they're so bad. They're so obviously leaks. Use your imagination and think of the most ridiculous things you can come up with, and that's what's making the rounds out there. But the point is, when people start making these fake leaks out there, they're doing it, one, to get attention because, mama didn't love them enough. But two, they're doing it because they're driving that engagement and they want to get the clicks and the likes and whatever it is. And they're getting them. And the leaks that are coming out and being picked up by these YouTubers, the YouTubers are getting the leak, or the clicks and the likes and all of these things. So, and the streamers, Twitch streamers, they're getting the views. It's driving this entire industry around Classic Plus. The most interesting thing about it is that we have heard absolutely zero from Blizzard. I talked about it a few weeks ago, where the only thing that we got from Blizzard about Classic Plus was that in the Warcraft Direct, where they released the timeline for 2026, and Holly was about to announce something for Classic players that they would be happy about, and it got air quote interrupted. It was a funny bit, but that's it. That's all we have to go on. We don't know anything else, and everything is just wish lists and speculation. But I think that if we go beyond just the it's people just making things up, there are some things that we can kind of look at to give us an idea of what is coming for Classic Plus. So what I wanted to do is I want to kind of break this down. There's a few different camps, and obviously within each camp, everybody is going to have their own opinions, but there are basically 4 general camps of what people want for Classic Plus. And you can kind of go from there. But the first one is original vanilla, no changes. And when I say no changes, I'm talking no class changes, no talent changes. You're going to get the shaman or horde only, paladins or alliance only. You're going to have meme specs like the Boomkin or the Shadow Priest. Warrior, mage, rogue, meta in raids. That's what you're going to get is as far as a original vanilla, no changes. What's going to make this the plus in Classic Plus is new content, zones, raids, dungeons, quests. These are the things that will give it. So it's still going to feel like vanilla WoW, but it's going to be different, new content that you can continue doing after you've already gotten to level 60. I hate to say it, to reference it, but it's the Turtle WoW methodology. This is one of the reasons why Turtle WoW was so popular, is because it kept the original feeling of vanilla and then added new content. You could get some new races, high elves, goblins, ogres. I actually thought about goblins would be a really cool one to have as a neutral race. But anyway, this is kind of the first camp, as it were, when it comes to what people want for Classic Plus. The second one would be Season of Discovery. And we already did Season of Discovery. It's done. But the idea here is that Blizzard takes what they did in Season of Discovery and expand it out, make it, first of all, get rid of all the stuff that didn't work, like the Emerald Dream, and the some of the PvP events weren't great, but continue to make gameplay and system changes, new runes, experiment with the gameplay, do class balancing, give different roles to different classes, mage healers, shaman tanks, warlock tanks, rogue tanks. These things were interesting, melee hunters. And I think that I think Season of Discovery was actually really successful for Blizzard. The thing that really got it was they made so many mistakes because it was a learning curve. And I still think that maybe a little bit of Season of Discovery there's a little bit of Blizzard who they were kind of in the, we were just experimenting, that's all, when they found out that some of this stuff didn't work. So, it's obviously possible that they intended for Season of Discovery to stay around forever and that was going to be Classic Plus. And then when people were like, cool, when are we getting Classic Plus? I think Blizzard realized, we need to actually do this. So, Season of Discovery was fun. One of the biggest things that, or most interesting things that Season of Discovery did was the level bands for leveling up. So you leveled to 25, and then the level 25 raid, which was Black Fathom Deeps, leveled to 40, and then the level 40 raid was Gnomeregan, and then leveled to 50, and the level 50 raid was Sunken Temple. I actually liked the idea behind that. Maybe not that specific cadence, and maybe not that specific those specific raids, but I did like the idea behind it. So, that's something that I think we can take away from it and say, you know what, that wasn't terrible. The third camp is going to be modern changes. So this is going to be people who really just want transmog, they want collections, achievements, major class balancing, new talents, that sort of thing. They want to be able to play a Ret Paladin in raids, or Shadow Priest, or things like that. Druids are good healers because Blizzard has adjusted the talent. So it's still gonna look like classic WoW or vanilla WoW, but it's not gonna feel like vanilla WoW because all of the changes are coming in. And there are people who really do want this. Maybe you keep the core talents the same, but you add in like hero talents or something like that. In a similar way to they did in Season of Discovery with the rune system, except that you're just going to get new talents instead. You could have a 2-track talent tree. So you have your regular talent tree, your regular vanilla talent tree, and it doesn't change. But then you also get a Mr. Pandaria style talent tree that gives you new features that you can unlock. Similar to the rune system, but it moves it out of the gear slots and just puts it into a tree system that you can use. I think that, there's a lot of merits to this idea. And I don't think it's completely worthless, as some people do, because there are a lot of good changes that happen in WoW over the years. And so, this is where we start getting into you think you do, but you don't territory, though. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of go, well, maybe I'll just play modern WoW then. Because honestly, yes, modern WoW is harder. There's no doubt the raids are more difficult. Mythic Plus is way more difficult than any dungeon you can do in Classic. But it wouldn't feel like Classic to me. The fourth group is obviously going to be the hybrid approach. Take a little bit from everything. A few limited modern features are okay. I wouldn't do things like transmog. I would do things like collections tab, where you can get all your pets or your mounts in a collections tab. That I think is okay. It helps clean up bag space and smooths out some of the rougher parts of the vanilla leveling process. People have talked about achievements, and I think achievements is tough. I think that's a really hard one to accept in the vanilla WoW space. I'm not fully against it, but I think that would have a really uphill battle. You could do talent changes. You could do class balancing. All of those things, absolutely, but it would have to be done very limited because you don't want it to feel like... I think Season of Discovery felt a little too much like modern WoW. You need to be somewhere in between. So again, with that balanced approach, more quality of life changes than anything, I think would help tremendously, because you want it, at the end of the day, you want it to feel like vanilla, but it's a modern game. This isn't 2004, and players aren't happy with the way... just think about the original WoW menu system, not the interface that you actually... But when you actually go in your settings, it was terrible. If you remember that original... I have to find a screenshot somewhere. I'll post it on the Discord. It's bad. It was really bad. And so when Blizzard did Classic, they modernized the settings, and I think that really helped, but still it was pretty bad. Those little quality of life changes I think are okay. too much, and it starts to feel like modern WoW. So obviously, I think everybody agrees that there's going to be some changes to the game world and some changes to the game systems. Whether or not there are class and race changes, I don't know. I think that's really where it boils down to. But having gone through this, the question that I'm wondering is, can Blizzard satisfy all four groups? If they do a hybrid approach, can they make it so that all three of these groups feel satisfied that, okay, this is, I'm happy with Classic Plus now? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's really tough. So we've talked a little bit about Season of Discovery. Let's go back to it and just go over this again. So I floated out the idea a few minutes ago that Season of Discovery may not have actually been a testing bed for Classic Plus. It may have just been a thing that Blizzard retroactively, or they retconned the idea that it was a testing grounds for Classic Plus later on. So we can look at the things like they added new raids, they added new quest lines, class abilities, items, which was a really big one, profession changes, world changes, just having the world bosses be in their own independent raid instances, which I think is hilarious that now modern WoW is getting that. In patch 12.1, we're getting layers, which are going to be where the world boss is, and it's basically a one boss dungeon or a one boss raid. I think it's fantastic, but we got that in Season of Discovery first. So there was a lot of experimentation going on there, a lot of things that they tried that were pretty wacky, a lot of things that they tried that didn't work, and a lot of things that they tried that really broke the game, like the Emerald Dream Portals. People were making thousands of gold in that first, whatever it was, 2 days. After that, you couldn't make that, but those people got to keep the gold. It basically broke the economy for Season of Discovery from that point on. So it's really important that Blizzard, when they do get to stuff like that, that they actually test it and think it through. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things about Season of Discovery is that there was no testing. They wanted us to discover, which was cool, but it's 2026 and the internet doesn't work that way anymore. So it was really tough. People want things to work right away. They would rather sacrifice a little bit of that wonder for a little bit of QA testing. So some things that I think are negative or kind of evidence against Blizzard originally planning to use Season of Discovery as a testing bed for Classic Plus. First of all, they never called it Classic Plus, which, yes, I know that Blizzard will probably not have Classic Plus as the name. I think that's just a community creation and it will stay that way. But because they launched it as Season of Discovery, it was intended as a season. I don't think that there was ever any sort of plan other than, hey, let's try something really cool. And then later on it became, hey, we could actually use this to create Classic Plus. So I don't know. But what it did that I think is really important is it taught Blizzard a whole lot about what players enjoy and what they do not enjoy. And that is really the best thing about Season of Discovery. There were a lot of runes that players just didn't like. There were a lot of runes that players maybe did like, but they couldn't use them because they weren't the meta. And in 2026, like I said, Blizzard can't just, oh, hey, you have player agency and choice. No, it doesn't work that way anymore. People are going to go read it on Wowhead. Here's the ones I need to use. Done, done, done. Okay, go. Now go fight the boss. You don't get to play around with different things and go, oh, this is so much fun. No, we don't have that anymore because there's a meta. And once that's decided, that's pretty much what you get to do. So, yeah, I think that personally, just as a side note here, Season of Discovery felt like vanilla WoW in so many ways until it didn't. And then it was like you had a dream about vanilla WoW and it was Season of Discovery. And then you woke up and you're like, that was a weird dream. That's kind of how Season of Discovery felt to me. All right. Before I move on and talk about anything else, we do need to kind of broach the lawsuit topic. So there is fighting going on with Project Ascension and Blizzard. They are going back and forth, and I think that this one is going to play out in the courts. I don't think we're going to get a settlement like we did with Turtle WoW. But definitely Blizzard is actively pursuing this and has gone up against every single Classic Plus version or private server version of the game. So the question is, obviously, is Blizzard clearing the field for Classic Plus? And look, I want to be really clear here. We have absolutely no evidence that's why Blizzard is doing this. Because they are protecting their IP, there are monetization concerns, they're setting precedents. The timing could just be a coincidence. And honestly, yeah, maybe they are preparing for future products, but there is a really important legal aspect to what Blizzard is doing. And I think that, yeah, okay, so the timing is convenient, but they have to do this. They have to do it, or they will risk losing their trademarks. So, yeah, Blizzard does protect its IPs, but you're going to get a really big thing like this, like we did with Nostalrius. You're going to get a big deal like this because of what's coming next. And we all know what's coming next. It's going to be something. We're calling it Classic Plus, but it's going to be something. That's why they're approaching. They didn't just wake up one day and decide, hey, let's go sue all of the private servers. That's not what happened. This is a plan. This is planned, but we don't have any evidence of Blizzard doing this other than they are protecting their IP. So we'll just leave it there. It doesn't have to be cause and effect. So, okay. Now that we got that out of the way, sometimes you just got to get through the slog before you get to the meat. Here's some of my predictions for Classic Plus. First off, the question that I have wondered, and because I'm a technically minded person, what are they going to build this on? If you recall, when they built the Anniversary Realms, they actually created a problem for themselves because they built it on Classic Era, and then they just kind of slapped TBC onto it when the Burning Crusade came out. And that created a problem because they needed to keep Classic Era the same, but they needed to move to TBC. So they actually had to create a fork in that for TBC, specifically Anniversary servers. It was a problem. It was a technical issue created by, honestly, short-sighted planning by Blizzard. So if they're going to do Classic Plus, is this going to be it's Classic Era and we're just going to make some modifications to it like they did with Hardcore? Is it going to be, or like Season of Discovery, is it going to be a similar situation where they add a new database on top of it like they did for the Burning Crusade? Or is it going to be brand new, a completely brand new game client that is just Classic Plus? I think that's the route they're going to go. I think they have kind of gotten tired of and frustrated with dealing with all these different versions of Classic. I honestly believe that. I mean, yes, there's a lot of evidence that we're going to get Warlords of Draenor, like we discussed, but we could end up with only one version of Classic at a future date, or two, because Classic Era is around forever. I don't think Blizzard wants to maintain all these. I really don't. And I think that if they're smart, what they would do is they would build it in such a way that you could migrate every single other version of Classic to this new client. And they're all operating in the same way because they're all using the same, it's modular, right? So you have one client that does everything. And depending on which version of WoW you're playing, it changes things like your talents and whether or not it's using modern graphics and things like that. That's a possibility. And that might be the biggest technical challenge that Blizzard is facing right now. I don't think it's that difficult for them to design raids and dungeons. I think that that's the easy part. The hard part is the technical challenge of building a client that can house every single version of Classic, including Era, Hardcore, the leftover Season of Discovery realms, the 20th Anniversary realms, which are going to maybe go to Wrath of the Lich King, maybe not. The Mists of Pandaria realms, which are maybe going to go to Warlords of Draenor and Legion, maybe not, we don't know. All of those could theoretically get moved into, in one big giant move, all of those databases could get folded into the new classic WoW client. And that's the future of classic WoW. And so then it opens up the possibility for Blizzard to do anything that they want. These are all one client. And so if you say, we can keep going through Legion. Hell, we could go to BFA and Shadowlands if we wanted to. Classic, we could do that because it's all on the same client. They're not managing 7 different game clients and patching 7 different game clients and making changes across 7 different game clients anymore. They have one. And so you make those changes to one thing, and the areas where they're different, okay, those areas are different, but everything else is rolled into one giant client. And here's the other part of this that it really makes this interesting. They could also clean up some of that old spaghetti code. Yeah, they could rewrite the game using modern methods of programming and clean that up. The game could still function the same, but they could clean up a lot of these issues that down the road we run into, like the problem with the Siege of Orgrimmar elevator breaking player housing that we talked about last week. That was crazy, but that's how it works. That's how the game works. It's spaghetti code, and there's no way around it. So yeah, it's a possibility that they could end up with one mega client for Classic, and hell, it could even be the mega client for all WoW going forward. We don't know. But I think that that's the technical challenge that they're probably facing. And whether or not they roll all the other versions into that client, I don't know. But I think that from a maintenance standpoint, I'd love that a lot more than having to manage. If I was keeping track of all these databases, it would be great if they were all in one place and I didn't have to go and, this is this old version of SQL Server and this is the new version, and this one has this setting and this one's encrypted. I would love it if they were all in just one place and I could manage everything using one console, right? That would be beautiful. And so I think I am willing to bet that and predict that that's what we're going to see. We're going to see one unified classic WoW client. And then all my thoughts of, Blizzard doesn't want to maintain all these different versions of the game. Why not? Shit, go for it. Maintain everything you want. Wrath era, TBC era, MOP era, whatever you want to do. They're all run on the same client. It makes it so much easier, but you got to put the work in first, because if you do it wrong, you basically just break all of classic WoW. So if they do this, like I'm thinking that they might, we're probably not going to see Classic Plus for another year, which would give some weight to the idea that we're going to get Warlords, we're going to get Legion, we're going to get Wrath of the Lich King. Yeah, I could see all that happening, and then Classic Plus, because once those are all done, then Blizzard can say, hey, these are all era servers now, or whatever. So that's my prediction, the mega classic client. I think that this is going to be a long-lasting thing. This isn't going to be seasonal. A lot of people have said that, Classic Plus can't last forever. That has to be seasonal. I don't think so. I think that from Blizzard's standpoint, they could do fresh servers. They can have hey, you guys want vanilla again? Here you go. People are tired of running vanilla, honestly. I think that that's an issue. People are already starting to get tired of running TBC. They want something different. They want something new. And, much like old school RuneScape, where it's like, okay, here's basically a new game. Blizzard could do the same thing with Classic Plus, and that could be where our characters live. They just live there now. And Blizzard can have that run forever. You could have content release you could do the modern WoW route and do 8 weeks, although I think that would probably be a little rough for the classic audience. I think more realistic would be every 12 weeks, where you have a new content come out. Maybe you have like a new raid tier every 18 weeks or 24 weeks. You got every 24 weeks, basically one or two new raid tiers a year. I think that that's probably good. But players are a lot more hungry for content. So I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for Blizzard to push out like that. I think more than likely what we'll see a faster content cadence, like we've seen with the Burning Crusade anniversary and or just the anniversary servers in general. I think that's probably the route that they're going to go, but it makes it difficult because now you have to be on this unrealistic content cadence, which is what we're seeing in retail. Although most of the problems that we have in retail or in modern WoW come from systems, not content. So I think that by and large, they can release new content quickly, pretty easily, as long as it's not overly complex, which the vanilla raids are not. So yeah, that's probably more of what we're going to see is faster content, maybe 3 raid tiers a year, something like that. I definitely think it's going to be permanent, though. I don't think this is going to be all right, well, what are we going to do in 3 years when this closes down? No, this is just where it's going to be now. The question is it going to grow into something else in the future? Maybe it will. I don't know. I think Blizzard has a plan, but they don't have, or they have kind of an intent and a purpose, but they don't have a solid plan. Like, here's where Classic Plus will be 10 years from now. I don't think they can think that far ahead. I think they can think far ahead enough to go, hey, do we want to have expansions for Classic Plus? Because that is something that they potentially could do. And maybe it's not even hey, it's a new expansion. You're going to level up. Maybe it's going to be new expansion. You're going to, get some sort of progression system or new content, new zones, new continent, whatever. I don't know. It's possible that they could do that. I personally would hope that they don't, but I think that, well, let's get into progression now. And I think this is one of the biggest problems that Classic Plus is going to have to face is how do you progress your characters? I've talked about this a lot before. The progression in WoW is very vertical. So you level 1 to 60, you're going up. As you level up, you gain in levels. You're vertically progressing. Once you get to level 60, you start doing dungeons, you start doing raids, and those progress your character. You get better gear. That gear has a higher item level, and it makes your character more powerful. Then the new raid comes out, and that gear is even more powerful than the last raid's gear, and so on. And it just grows from there until when you have Nax gear, if you had a fully Nax geared level 60 fighting a Molten Core geared level 60, it's a stomp fest, because even though they're both level 60, the one with the Nax gear is so much more powerful because of the vertical progression. So people talk about horizontal progression a lot. And this is a really tough one, because having meaningful horizontal progression is extremely difficult to pull off. Because what is driving your acquisition of gear in WoW? The main focus for getting better gear is to become more powerful. And so if you take that away, what is there now for players to get or to air quote progress? Because a horizontal progression doesn't really give you any incentive to go do that. So there were certain chase items in raids like Zul'Gurub that kept players running those long after they could use anything else in it. There might have been one thing, or maybe it was the enchant, or maybe it was whatever, the trinket that people wanted. There are reasons to go into that older content, but they quickly evaporated as characters became more and more powerful. And so by the time you got to Nax, none of those people were running Zul'Gurub. Maybe they weren't even running Blackwing Lair anymore. Probably they were still running AQ. And maybe they were running AQ20, but honestly, once you get to Nax, yeah, everything goes away. So is there a way to create meaningful horizontal progression? And honestly, I just don't think there is. I think that if you have raids side by side, that's okay. You can do that, but raid tiers have to progress characters. Otherwise, people are just going to do the easiest content. It's like in Mythic Plus. If you just let people pick whichever dungeon they wanted to do in Mythic Plus, they would just do the easiest one over and over and over again and get all of their stuff from that. So you have to give people the kind of push them in a certain direction, right? Well, this gear comes from this place and that gear comes from that place. But people don't like doing it, right? This is why you have keystones, because it forces you to run a dungeon that maybe you don't love. You're like, we got to go do King's Rest. Okay, fine. And so by the same logic, if Blizzard gave you the choice and says, hey, all of these raids drop the same item level of gear, so you're going to be the same level of power no matter which raid you do, they're just going to do the one, whichever's the easiest. That's what's going to happen. You could say, oh no, they'll do whichever one's the most fun. And it would be a lie because they'll do whichever one's the easiest. That's just how it goes. That's how WoW players are, especially nowadays. This isn't 2005 where people are like, wow, everything is so cool. No, it's going to be like, what's the easiest way to get whatever the gear is that I need? So yeah, you could create horizontal progression and you could create those chase items that say, hey, you can get this really cool item, but only if you get components from all 5 raids, right? And then people are going to start complaining that, oh, Blizzard is making us run all 5 raids, and right, and we don't want to have to do that. So the question then becomes, how can Blizzard encourage players to progress, but to do it horizontally? And the answer is they can't. You have to create tricks and players hate that. By the way, when you have some sort of artificial thing that's driving you in a certain direction, or even worse, if you time gate things, players hate that, like with a passion. So if Blizzard were to do that, well, yeah, it's not really going to help anything because you're kind of stuck now. You don't have any way to get past that without tricking players into doing that content that they don't want to do. So is horizontal progression possible? No, I don't think so. I think that you can do some more horizontal progression. Like you could say, hey, Molten Core, Onyxius Layer, and whatever, pick a new raid, right? And give people more things to do. But the more things you give people to do, the more things people feel like they have to do. My guild clears, as I said, Tempest Keep and Serpent Shrine now. That's a regular thing. But we're also clearing God, I can't think. I just had the names, Gruul and Magtheridon. Why? Because there's those chase items that people feel like we have to go get. So it's not, we're not doing it because it's so much fun. If we could be done with those raids, we would be. And that's what I'm talking about when I say that you can't really do horizontal progression, because it was an accident that Blizzard created DST and made it as good as it is. It was an accident that they created, the Mag's head rewards were so good. They didn't do that because they were like, hey, let's make this so that players have to come back and run these old raids. No, they actually released all those raids together initially, and you just had to do them. You could just did whichever one was the highest one you could do. That's the one you did. And that's what players did back in 2007. You just did whichever one you were capable of doing. And if you could do the higher level ones, that's what you did. You didn't go back and do Gruul's Lair once you could do Serpent Shrine or Tempest Keep. Part of that just because we didn't know how good DST was back then, but also just players didn't feel the need to do everything. Nowadays, players do. They have to do all of it. So other things that people have talked about that I think will be part of or should be part of Classic Plus, the leveling experience in the original vanilla was, shall we say, it was quaint. It's cute. I like the leveling in vanilla the first 30 times, but at this point I'm kind of sick of it. And I think Blizzard knows that players are going to want a boost. And it might not even be buying a level 58 boost or a level 50 boost or something. It might be that you buy an XP boost. Maybe you say, hey, I want to buy a boost. And so instead of having just like here's your level 60 character, maybe Blizzard gives you all right, you can buy a 1 week XP boost for your character where you get XP increased by 100%. That's a possibility. And I'm not giving Blizzard any ideas here. They already have all of this stuff on a giant, project board of ideas of how they can make money off of WoW players. You can get an XP boost and speed through the leveling process a little bit. I don't think they're going to give us a straight XP boost like they did in Season of Discovery. I think it was 150%. We're not getting that. If that's something that they can monetize, and they will figure out how to monetize it and make a little bit more money. It's because, like I said, you can't just sell boosts. There's no good breakpoint to say, okay, here's boosts. When do you do it? When do you introduce boosts? See, in Classic, you can do it with the start of a new expansion, because then you go, oh, we're going to bring you to the max level from the previous expansion so you can level up with your friends. That makes sense. But here it doesn't really work. It doesn't make any sense. But they're going to have a way to make money off of, have microtransactions. They're going to have to. So yeah, I could see there being like a short-term XP boost. You could also get you could earn it like with the backpack quest in Season of Discovery. I think that was pretty cool. I liked that a lot, where it gave you more rest XP. But if Blizzard improves the leveling experience in Classic Plus, I think this is going to be much less of an issue, at least in the beginning. Maybe as time goes on, people are going to get frustrated. They're like, man, I wish I could just boost a character. But let's not forget, if you're talking the original 9 classes, which means each faction only has 8 available to them, you only have so many alts that you're going to make. So it's not like in Modern WoW where people have 40 alts that they have to level up. You have 1 or 2, maybe, alts that you are also playing around with. Some people get ridiculous and have 8 alts or 8 warriors and, all of these different things. But I think what Blizzard really can do to improve the leveling process is give us new quest hubs, give us maybe even new zones for leveling, new dungeons that make sense. Some of the dungeons in vanilla were so bad that they just made no sense. Like, I'll give you an example here. And I know it's controversial because everyone loves Scarlet Monastery, but the graveyard in Scarlet Monastery was completely worthless. There was one good item in there, one, and it wasn't even that good. So, there's things that you could get out of it, but I never really felt like I needed to go run the graveyard in Scarlet Monastery. It wasn't fun. It wasn't enjoyable. Some of the dungeons that are really long and are frustrating, like Razorfen Crawl is an example. I feel like that one could be maybe not modified. Don't change the dungeon, but give a little bit more incentive to go there. Give some more quests. Give some quests on the Alliance side. I think there's only the one quest that you get for Razorfen Crawl. Same thing with the Stockade. Give the Horde a reason to go to the Stockade, And yeah, it's 2026. It's Classic Plus. You can make them fight their way into the city, but you can also just give a portal that brings them straight there. There's no reason why you can't do that. Okay, I feel like that's okay. Same thing with Ragefire Chasm. Give the Alliance a portal to Ragefire Chasm. It's fine. Other things that they could do, definitely have some events that could give you XP boosts. I don't know that world events a la what was introduced in Dragonflight is necessarily what I would want to see, but definitely more things to make the world active. PvP events could be good if done right. PvP is really tough though, because again, we get into this gear progression issue, and as soon as you get your PvP gear, now you're too powerful for people feel like they have to go do PvP to do raids, and it just creates a whole issue. I mean, the PvP ranking system in vanilla, I wish they could just get rid of the whole thing. I do, but I don't know how they can accomplish that. So yeah, I definitely think that there's going to be changes to the leveling process, smooth out some of the rougher spots. I've said it before, but Alliance from about 40 to 45 is really tough. Probably some similar types of things in the Horde, but if I was leveling a brand new Alliance character from 1 to 30, that's like the easiest thing you could do. You get through Duskwood and you're like, man, this is so fun. I'm having a blast. And then once you get to Stranglethorn Vale, you're like, this isn't as much fun, but I'm still leveling pretty quickly. And then once you get to about 35, it starts to really hurt. And once you get to 40, it's miserable, because that 40 to 45 range there's just nothing to do. You have to go to the Badlands or to Swamp of Sorrows, and it's just not fun. So yeah, Blizzard could smooth out some of those spots a little bit. I think would really help. I definitely think that creating class specific quests also really helps. There's a few really good ones in there, like the Warrior's Whirlwind Axe, that's really good, or the Paladin two-handed mace. But I think that we don't need everything to be, everyone gets the exact same quest line at this exact level to the exact. We don't need to be quite like that, but we can have more class. Give people a reason to go to their class trainer when they level and not just to train new skills. Like have 833, you have to go talk to your class trainer. Why? Because he's got a quest for you. Okay, cool. And you get like a little reward. Give paladins, shamans, and druids their ranged slot early. Have quests where you can go pick that up like they did in Season of Discovery. Why not? Why not give those are pain points that don't need to exist in the game. So yeah, they definitely could do something with the leveling. It's too slow and it's too boring right now. Honestly, it just is. And Blizzard really needs to fix that up. What I don't want to see them do though is create this big story like we have in modern WoW expansions. I liked vanilla WoW because you were truly an adventurer. You just went looking for adventures. There wasn't a story driving you with a bunch of cutscenes that you had to, okay, what's going on? The game lets you do your own thing, and it respected your time in that if you just went and grinded mobs, you could level that way, or you can go do quests, or you can run dungeons, or whatever it is you want to do. It lets you do that. It's all going to be slow, right? But if there's more things to do and they're interesting, that's really going to help. Another thing that I'd really like to see is some of these unfinished quest lines actually get finished in a meaningful way. The one I thought of when I was going through this was the Uldum quest line that you get at the end of Uldaman. So at the end of Uldaman, you have to go to Ironforge, I think it is, or maybe it's in the Badlands. I forget what it is. But anyway, there's a quest that takes you to the gates of Uldum, and the quest just stops there. I think it's the discs that you get at the end of Uldaman. Anyway, the quest just stops there. There's no follow through. It's kind of like, well, now what? And we didn't even get a follow-up to that in Cataclysm when we got Uldum as a zone, because Blizzard just dropped the quest line. There are a lot of these types of quests. I think that Blizzard could do some work to clean these up, but not it. It's tough because it's going to be in a contrived way just because Blizzard, the way that they are doing quests these days. But in the old days, it was just someone who would be like, I'm just writing stuff down because everybody was just making it up as they went. And you can look and see how quests through the years have gotten more and more streamlined and more kind of tightly written, and everything is very specific to the point where I don't even need to read the quest text anymore because I know exactly what's going on. I don't want that for vanilla, but I do feel like we could have some cleanup and maybe some follow through on some of these things. I'd love for, again, all of my biases are going to be Alliance side. If you're a Horde player and you're like, hey, how come you're not talking about all the Horde stuff? It's because I didn't play Horde back in vanilla. I didn't play Horde in Classic. So unfortunately, I don't really know the Horde 1 to 60 in Classic very well. I have since leveled characters Horde side, but that was after Cataclysm. So I think the highest I got on a Horde character was level 20 for my Tauren Shaman. So anyway, but the point is, have a follow-up on the Defias Brotherhood at level 60. I'd love a Defias Brotherhood raid. Maybe even the long-rumored the Stormwind Vaults, the giant raid sized version of the Stockade on the other side of the cathedral. That would be a really good way to finish up the Defias Brotherhood storyline. I don't know. I don't know if we need that, but I think it could be pretty cool. There's a lot of things that they could do to kind of clean some of that stuff up. Other things that I really would like to see them do, I'd love to see them give professions a light touch on improving them. I don't want to see an overhaul. I don't want to see a Dragonflight style profession revamp. And I don't feel like we need to have a whole bunch of new things added to professions. But there are some rough spots in professions too. Smooth out those bumps just a little bit. We don't need to make it easy for people to level professions. It should still be hard and it should still be expensive. But there are going to be a few rough spots that I'm sure Blizzard knows about, and they could just kind of smooth through those a little bit. I think that they could improve on gathering professions. Honestly, there's no reason why I need to hit a mining vein 4 times. Herbalism, you hit it 1 time, you get all your herbs. skin one time. I mean, unless it fails, but you get the point, right? Mining, you have to hit it multiple times. You should be able to just hit it once. I feel like that's okay. And if we're talking about the economy, which we weren't, but I'm bringing it up now because we're talking about gathering professions, go ahead and make it so that we give it the retail treatment on gathering nodes. If I herb something within 60 seconds, anybody else who comes by can also herb that. Why not? That'll make it so that you can't make as much money from gathering, but I think it'll help the economy by giving more of an influx of these supplies, because right now things are rare and it's hard, and maybe that's a terrible idea. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it truly is a terrible idea, but I think it couldn't hurt to at least look at it and say, is this a viable option? And I think, in all honesty, I think Blizzard would probably end up doing that because I think it's going to be better for the game. But, it's not going to feel like classic or feel like vanilla. So I get it that's a touchy one. But professions, yeah, definitely you need to have some things cleaned up on professions. Enchanting is a really tough one. Blacksmithing is brutal. Leatherworking is like one of the easiest ones. Tailoring also super easy. You just need like 1,200 rune cloth and you're good. So yeah, some of them could use a little bit of TLC, but I would want it to be very, very gentle. Don't do this big overhaul. I don't want to see that. The professions should still feel like vanilla WoW professions. And those specialty items that you get while you're leveling up, that's a reward for leveling your profession to a certain point. And sometimes people complain, they're like, well, by the time you get the mats to make this item, it's worthless to you. You've leveled beyond that. To which I say, that's the whole point. It's a reach item that if you can get that, it feels so good. Just like the Whirlwind Axe. If you can get the Whirlwind Axe, if you do that quest at level 30, it feels so much better than if you do it at 42. Just saying, those things have to happen in the game because there has to be friction. You shouldn't be able to just get everything. You should have to work really hard to make your Robe of Power, for example, at 33. I think it's 33. Yeah, you need Mage Weave. You do. But you should be able to go and, figure it out. I don't know. Figure it out. That's the whole point. As far as classes go, I definitely think that I personally, if we're doing Classic Plus, and this isn't just a vanilla revamp, if we're not going the old school vanilla Turtle WoW method, I could go ahead and give Horde Paladins and give Alliance Shaman. I don't know. There are a lot of people who don't agree with that, and to them I say, you know what, that's fine. But Dwarf Shaman and Tauren Paladins, done. You're done. That's it. That's all you need to do. You can introduce new races. Now, this is something that I feel like is going to be a big part of Classic Plus, and it's probably not going to be on launch. I think instead of expansions, what we're going to end up seeing is we're going to get kind of these mini expansions that add a new big feature like a new race, rather than like a new raid or something like that. So we'll probably get High Elves. I don't know that we'll get Blood Elves because that just feels wrong, but definitely High Elves, probably Goblins, maybe Ogres. I don't know. That's kind of rough. Maybe Worgen. Maybe that's the storyline that we could get. The Gilnan Wall comes down early. You could do all of those things. It's tough though, because do I want a bunch of furbogs running around in my raid? No, not really. Not unless you have the quest item from Ashen Vale. So yeah, that one's tough. New races is tough because I feel like that really messes with the feel of vanilla. It won't feel like vanilla if you've got, Volpera in there all of a sudden. So, as far as the classes themselves go, I definitely think you have to do some cleanup on those classes. They have to be balanced a little bit more than what they are now. You don't necessarily need to go the Season of Discovery route and give mages the ability to heal and warlocks the ability to tank. I think you could give shaman the ability to tank if Blizzard decides not to make shamans and paladins cross faction. Give shamans the ability to tank, give them a taunt, and give paladins a taunt. And then you're done. That's fine. I'm okay with that. If that's what we do instead, that's okay. But shamans should be able to tank. I mean, they can tank. I've seen plenty of shaman tanks throughout the years in Classic. but once you get into higher level, it becomes really tough. So, give shamans the ability to tank, and give them a taunt, and give paladins a taunt. I think that would really be good. Other class changes, you definitely want ret paladins to be able to be a thing. Maybe not quite as ridiculous as they are later on, but give ret paladins, give shadow priests some love, some boomkins. Feral druid is tough because feral druid is it's 2 roles in one spec. So if you buff feral druids too much, you end up with either tank druids being too powerful or cat druids being too powerful. I think that's tough, and I don't really want a separation of those 2 talent trees. I feel like having feral being just for cats and bears is okay. It would just have to be done very, very carefully. So continue on with the same thing that they've done throughout vanilla and into Burning Crusade, where pretty much every talent in the feral tree does 2 different things. It does this for cats and it does this for bears. Keep doing that, but be careful on making bears too powerful. We should have kind of a similar type of arrangement with the tanks that we do now, where maybe feral druids have the highest single target threats. Warriors are the tankiest, the sturdiest tanks overall, and where paladins and shamans can do AoE. I think giving shamans the ability to AoE tank is really important, because paladins can do it right now in vanilla. If you log on to Classic Era on a paladin, you can tank at dungeons at level 60. You can do some raid tanking too, but not much. So I feel like that's important for the health of the game, is to make those 4 classes able to tank and give them all different things that they can do. And maybe you don't even give shamans the ability to AoE tank. Maybe they do something else different, special that paladins can't do. I don't know. But I think you need to give a little bit of love to the tanks and give them all some place in the tank hierarchy, because making warriors the only tank and melee warriors the best DPS is terrible in vanilla. It sucks. I have a warrior at level 60, or I had a warrior at level 60 in classic, and I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fun. So that's but I had to, because that was the best. So definitely do some maybe a little bit harder of a touch on the class balancing. Certainly tank balancing. Healers could use some love too. I know resto druids are really tough. I don't know if we should give resto druids a res. I think what might be better is to let them stay with a battle res, but also give them give one of the other healing classes a mass res could be good. But I feel like giving druids just a regular res, I don't know. I'm torn on that one, because sometimes it's nice to be able to just heal a dungeon as a druid. And I've had it before where the druid dies, and the healer dies, and the only other reser is a druid who's a tank. And so now they have to combat res the healer, and it's kind of like this whole thing. I don't know. I like that dynamic, but it's frustrating. So, to be determined on that one. But there's a lot of changes that you could make to make druids better healers, especially at level 60 for raid content, because right now they're just not. Paladins and priests just outshine them in every possible way. So it's frustrating. You bring one resto druid for the buff, and maybe you bring one feral druid for the lulls, and that's it. And I think that needs to be adjusted. So, but we don't need to go the Season of Discovery route where we gave druids Wind Fury. I feel like that was a bridge too far. So, and as far as the just overall talents go, I definitely think that some of those bad talents need to stay, because that's part of game design. Is sometimes there's things that you don't want to do. If Blizzard tries to make every talent good, they're all going to end up being mediocre and feel samey, and we don't want that either. So I definitely think give the talents some cleanup, but leave some of those really bad talents, leave them there, and it's okay. It doesn't hurt anything to stay there. Everybody's going to use the same talent build anyway, because it's whatever's on Wowhead or Icy Veins or whatever. So it doesn't really matter. As far as new zones goes, I like I said, I think leveling zones would be good. I think high level zones is I don't know that I necessarily want to do that. I feel like the bulk of the zones should be for the leveling process, unless we're doing raids. So if there's a raid in a new zone, fine. That's okay. We can do that. But I don't really see the benefit of adding a bunch of new zones, especially in the beginning. Now, down the road, maybe we're going to add in Quel'Thalas and we're going to add in the High Elves. Okay, that's fine. But I don't feel like that should be in the game at launch. I feel like that's something you can add in later on. And they don't need to do it Burning Crusade style. They can give us a reimagined Quel'Thalas. And I think that's okay too. We can get some of those Burning Crusade raids, especially like Karazhan, Zul'Aman, stuff like that. We can get those in a Classic Plus, especially if they kind of make some modifications to them. I feel like that's okay. I feel like those zones and those raids, they feel vanilla enough that I'm okay with them in Classic Plus. I don't want to go to Outland. I feel like going to Outland just feels like we're doing the Burning Crusade, but at level 60. I feel like that's dumb. I wouldn't want to go to Outland. I'm not opposed to going to Northrend. And the reason that I say that is because Northrend is an interesting place and it's a big part of Warcraft lore. But again, it would feel weird. It's like, okay, well, now we're just trying to shoehorn Wrath of the Lich King into vanilla. So you'd have to completely reimagine Northrend. And I think that would probably take more work than Blizzard is willing to do. But I like Northrend. So I guess really it's just my own personal bias. But yeah, I think ultimately it's probably more work than it's worth. Other zones that were introduced later on, like Twilight Highlands, you could do a little bit of work there. There's Grim Batol. Grim Batol is in vanilla. It's just you can't get into it. So I could definitely see a Grim Batol raid being introduced down the road. Some of these outdoor dungeons, like I always think of Jinta Allure. That's like my favorite one. Some of those outdoor dungeons are really cool, and I like the way they work currently. And so I feel like if you were to instance them, it would kind of take away some of that flavor of the world. But I also think that you could add a raid onto something like that. So you have to fight your way up to the top of Jinta Allure just to get to the raid. So yeah, if you go in there with your raid group, okay. But if you're in there by yourself, that's going to suck. So I don't know. Maybe that's not a great idea. Maybe it is. I don't know. Stuff like that is really tough because Blizzard could do it and then everyone hates it. Now what? So, and this is how the game becomes so, kind of, everything feels the same because Blizzard tries to take all of the friction out because players complain. And I feel like the game needs friction to be good. So one small thing on gearing, and gearing is one that is really tough because honestly, gearing is it's a mess. Blizzard screwed themselves over with gearing, and I don't know that they'll ever be able to fix WoW gearing. It is better in vanilla, but still going from brand new level 60 to a Nax geared level 60 is a huge leap. So could they do something to help smooth that out a little bit? Maybe. It's going to be tough though, because some players are not going to feel the urgency of getting a 2 item level upgrade. So I think gearing is one that's probably just going to stay the same. We might see some changes to it. Who knows? Blizzard could come up with something completely new, and I think that would be really fun. But ultimately, I think gearing is just going to stay the way it is because there's no good way to do that. Because much like a horizontal progression system, changing the gearing to smooth it out a little bit more, it ruins all of the incentive to go do stuff. So I don't know. Maybe that's how you do horizontal progression. Maybe instead of a 20 item level span from Molten Core to Nax, maybe it's more like a 10 item level span, and every raid gives you 1 item level. I don't know if that's going to feel good enough to go get or to go do stuff. But I think that's one that, again, Blizzard has to be very careful in how they do it because it could easily end up with what we have now in modern WoW, where you have these 46 item level jumps in between raid tiers. It's insane. So, right. So the final thing that I will talk about here is I do feel like you can add in new classes. And hear me out here. I've seen this before I think it was on Reddit that I saw it. This is years ago. Somebody had the idea of adding Death Knights and Demon Hunters to Classic Plus. And I've talked about this on the show. You give Horde Death Knights. Only Undead can be a Death Knight. And you give Alliance Demon Hunters. Only Night Elves can be Demon Hunters. That's how you can add new classes to vanilla and not have it break the game, essentially. It would break the game because it would add a lot of new metas to it. But, you know, again, if we're talking about doing these mini expansions within Classic Plus, that could be one way to do it. Here, this is a new class, Death Knights, and Death Knights and Demon Hunters, 2 new classes introduced to the game. And I think that could be a way to add new content into a game that doesn't really have anywhere to go because there's really no progression beyond that. So I don't know. It's a possibility, but we'll see. Or it could be something completely different. You could add in a completely new class to the game. Like people always talk about the Tinker class or a Bard class. You could add those into the game too and just make them part of WoW. I don't think that there's anything that's off the table. I just want it to feel like vanilla WoW, and then I feel like I'm going to be pretty happy with Classic Plus, with whatever it is. I don't want to get transmog. I don't want to get all these modern WoW features. Don't give me any of that stuff. Make it feel like vanilla, but give me some quality of life. Give me some new content, and I think I'll be happy. So so that's where we are on that. Like I said, Classic Plus is only going to get louder, so expect more episodes talking about Classic Plus as we get closer to BlizzCon. I will probably do a big Classic Plus episode. My goal would be to get some people on to talk about it, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes leading up to BlizzCon. So, that's where we are on that. So, all right. That's going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to get on this microphone and speak to you. As you are listening to this show, because I recorded it on Monday, I am in California. And my daughter will be getting married this Saturday. So, it's I'm very excited, very proud Papa. And going to go eat some good food in California and have a good time at the wedding. So I will I'll give a little update on the wedding in the next episode. I don't know if anyone wants to hear about it, but I'm gonna give one anyway. So if you are enjoying the show and you would like to help us out, there's a couple of different things you could do. You could consider giving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Those really help out with the distribution. Been getting a lot of good Spotify rankings, and I really do appreciate it. And if you leave a review or a comment, I will read those on the air. And the other thing you could do to just help out, if you're listening on YouTube, you could give us a like and a comment and a subscribe. Those all really help out with the YouTube algorithm. As I said before, I do want to get back to doing video on YouTube, but I'm kind of liking to not have to worry about how I'm presenting myself during a episode recording. So I'm sitting here in my my gym shorts and a t-shirts and hair's messed and haven't shaved or haven't trimmed my beard. So it's whatever, you think summertime is going to be no camera time for me. So finally, if you want to really help us out, you could consider joining our Patreon. That is where people can give their IRL money to help out with the production costs of the show. We have 3 different tiers of patrons. There is the free tier, where you could just join in there and see what's going on. And then there's 2 paid tiers. There's a standard tier, which is $1, and then our friend of the show patrons, and that is our $3 tier. And I do want to thank our friend of the show patrons right now. They are Stuglife, Thelial, Greybeard, Raven, Azerin, Agro Management, and Luch. Thank you all so much. You definitely help make Azeroth United possible. And that's it. So thank you again for listening. Remember to be good to each other out there. It's a real person on the other side of that keyboard, and they're just waiting for Classic Plus. So all they can do is come up with fake leaks and fake rumors. And so just, you can just nod at them and go, okay, and just smile and have fun. All right. Take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.